95% of my education, I didn't have a clue. When they started in Italian, it was course and it was Dante Alighieri, Inferno, and the whole thing. And it was already, for the Italian, it was hard. For me, it was literally, and I remember the whole thing. Every day I was motivated, like now I'll be more, let's say, focused. I'll be there. After 10 minutes, like I'm gone.
Hi guys, welcome back on Rocky SEO. Today we're here with Artjom, a good connection of mine from Slovenia. Rocky is quite sleepy, but is interested to hear more. Today we'll talk about entrepreneurship and raising capital for interesting project. So thank you once again for being on, and let's dive deep.
Yeah. Hello everyone, and Rocky, you're the best.
Artjom Bajdak was born in Minsk in the former Soviet Union to professional volleyball playing parents. He grew up across multiple countries, which taught him to adapt quickly to new cultures and environments. He completed his early schooling in Bled, spent a decade in Italy, pursuing a professional volleyball career. At 14, he became a Slovenian youth champion with Merkur Bled and went to play for several clubs in Italy, including Gorizia, San Donà, Verona, Biella and Napoli. He retired from professional volleyball at 27 to focus on his true passion, entrepreneurship. After years of experimentation in different sectors and self-educating in business after seeing the limits of traditional education, he developed into a business strategist, investor, facilitator, and connector. Today, he's based near Bled and is the founder of Bajdak and Family, as well as Bajdak Capital. He was also the co-owner of Ion Athletics, and over the years he completed more than 100 projects and deals. His current focus is on strategy, cross-border opportunities, investments, real estate deals, and building meaningful alliances. He's also a dedicated husband, a father of 2 sons, a podcaster, cold swimmer, a cinephile, and a lifelong learner. Welcome on Rocky SEO. You were a professional volleyball player in Italy, of all places.
Yeah.
And then you switch into, professional help for supporting businesses in their growth. Can you tell us about that a little bit? So how was the volleyball and the switch? I think that's an interesting.
Maybe it will be much easier to understand even going a little bit backward. So in my life, I moved, I think with my kids, we counted like 27 times. So let's say from Soviet Union to Poland, from Poland then to Slovenia, and from Slovenia then in Italy, and coming back and so on. So I would say this understanding of what the foreign needs, from, let's say, being very small to be a teenager to be starting entrepreneur. So I might say I was in all phases as a family member and as an individual myself. So the core of, let's say, what is Bajdak family literally do? So everyone is starting like, what do you really do? Actually, it's very simple. So we make life a little bit easier. So we understand more stages of life by living it. So we understand that small things really help, or how to say, increase you in not spending too much energy. That would be the main thing. So when you are relocating, starting business, it's not like you're burning too much energy for relatively not so important things. But as a foreign, everybody knows that to get an eSIM in the outside EU country, might be a pain in the ass. And those are, let's say, we have majority of stories. So how things like let me give you an example which people or let's say foreign investors like me or love me is, how do you get a dentist on the Sunday 12 o'clock for a kid having a tooth problem? That's the let's say, those are the things which makes you, and then you think, okay, we did the transactions and so on, but let's say the transaction was part of the game. But those are the moments which people like are very important to have. So understanding those small pieces were the one who actually started way before I even went to Italy. So let's say the moment we came to Slovenia, and I think it was out of necessary my wish, let's say, to gather people around me. And moving around every year, I needed to get friends, so I needed to be to create some added value, to connect them as a group, to be playful, and so on. So it was a necessity for me at first, and then it became like a more like my added value, which I love to do it. So I'm doing it, I would say, 30 years now. So it's from the business side maybe 20, but from the life philosophy, I would say 40 years already. And of course, volleyball was our family big passion, and mine as well. And I have interesting story to tell. So by 12, when I was 12 years old, I was practicing both volleyball and basketball. Big lover of basketball, big Kobe fan. And I'll tell you a story. So our family friend was a manager for basketball players to come to play to Slovenia. Like Slovan was a very well-known team here, and we are providing potential players to bring it here. So of course, a lot of those boys didn't speak English, and I was Russian Slovene speaker. So they say like, okay, we're having practices and matches here. Come, you're playing basketball as well. It will be more than enough that you'll be part of the team, play, and you'll be translator. So that was my first let's say thing. And I remember after two days after practice, the president of the club asked the coach, out of those players, who would like to buy? And the coach was like pointing finger at me and said like, oh, I want that one. I want that one. He has great vision, knows, have feeling. The hand is well, and of course, volleyball player, we have a very soft hand. So I got this combination of twos, but but in meanwhile, I already got offer to play in Italy. It was my always a big dream, because 2 years before that, I went to see Sisley Treviso final of Champions League, and I got in love in Lorenzo Bernardi, which is the best player, I would say, in the history of the game. And that was the beginning. So Italy was literally, there's an interesting story for Italy, which is not public. And let's share those.
Well,
Those
that's a great start already. Thank you Artjom, for
no,
sharing so many things.
I was like you mentioned, I was a youth champion in Slovenia with Blade. I was, let's say, seventh player, so I was not the first team player, but still big name. My family name is still big in volleyball. They were both professional, especially my mom was very big, let's say, in the area thing. And I got switched to play in Italy. It was on the finals, and because I was I painted my hair red because we won the Champions League. So I was very big, let's say, like a roadman thing coming to Italy, and everybody's like, "Who is that one?" So we went the finals against Trieste, a team which, yeah, from the Opcine, from Sloga. And thanks God actually to the guy, but the president figured out that I didn't just grow up from somewhere and to play so well. So he figured out that I was already playing in Slovenia. So I got disqualified from the federations. And then it was interesting point. So the reason I got to Italy was because we had a tournament with Sisley Treviso with the under 17 team, and they were potentially willing to maybe buying me. So there was a huge thing, and there were additional few use cases in Italy. So my president flew to Rome to change the law for me. So they changed the law. So if you enter in Italy and you're still not 15 years old, you can play as an Italian. And imagine, the season starts on 1st July. My birthday was on 8th July. So on the 1st of July, I was still 14 years old. So it means that from then on, I could play in Italy, and this is the reason I could play in minor leagues as a foreign and so on. So that was, let's say, my first part. Then yeah, moving all around Italy, I saw literally every part of Italy. Yeah, went to from Gorizia, went to San Donà, but in the meanwhile, I played for both Gorizia and Trieste. Back then, it was possible to play for, let's say, two teams. From San Donà, I went to Brescia, from Brescia to Rimini, from Rimini to Verona. No, from Verona to Rimini, from Rimini to Biella, and from Biella to Napoli, and then that was, let's say, end of the Italian career. Interestingly enough, for 5 years, all Sardinian teams wanted me. Maybe Olbia not area, but Sardinia was the place which they were always willing to give me. But I said, like, I'm not going to an island on the winter time. No, I need.
I see, I see. Wow, incredible stuff. So you speak Italian a little bit or no?
Yeah, I studied, ho studiato economia internazionale a Padova pure. Ecco.
And then from that, then eventually, you retired from the professional volleyball career. Also, I think it's one of those things you do that for a while, but probably. I mean, I never played professionally sports, but I think there's always a cut off, right, when you effectively become too old or something else happens, so you have to quit the sport, and then you went into the business side.
Actually, the business side was, let's say, as a family, we are already in business. So let's say I started literally when I was 18 years old. I already started with the side business. The volleyball career was interesting from September till May, but from May till September we have an open window. And being, let's say, Russian speaking, there was a huge gap literally to support all, in whatever cases, opening companies, managing property, all the things. So I managed to already start working in the summertime, and interestingly, one of my first business was, so our friend was calling us. So she said, like, we have clients coming to Slovenia, and they're really wishing to go to Venice for 2 days, but not with tourist guide, not like just live. And I was just finishing my year in Venice. I loved Venice. Every Wednesday I went with the train, and I just walking the whole Venice. So I made, I don't know, 25 trips to Venice, me alone. And that was one of the first. I said, like, okay, let's go 2 days with them. And what to do? Just have a life, And that was one of the first things. I started to help, and by small things, they compounded and start to become bigger things, bigger project, bigger transaction. But that was one of our first. So I would not say that the volleyball was, let's say, I finished volleyball quite early, maybe because I was already half businessman, let's say like that, or I was part of the business and I was not afraid of that transaction. Although I would say that was, and I think it is, one of the hardest killing identity period of life, when you literally need to like kill that part that you're not sportsmen anymore. And I think it took me maybe 2-3 years to really. I finished in 27, but till 30 I was not really, in my head I was still a player and not the businessman. Interesting, although the business side was much more bigger, but in my head I was still, I still is. And I see all the players when they're, let's say, struggling right now, after, let's say. And I probably believe that half of them, they're still in that circle. They didn't manage to come out of the, let's say, history of itself. And just that you know, probably on my age, that's the interesting part as well. So I'm 38 years old. In my first 4 years of my playing, majority of the team was 35, 38 years old. The age I was, so let's say volleyball could give you a possibility to actually play till 40 if you're in the good health conditions. There's a very interesting US team in 2008, which was quite old team. So my decision was not based on that I couldn't play. I could play in Italy. I would most probably come to a little bit higher league after 2 3 years. So because in Italy, you know, but by 27 you're still very young. Let's say considered young, although not in our part. And that was already a short transition, so no injuries, fortunately, so it's easier to live afterwards. But yeah, the killing of identity of a sportsman, I think it's a thing which I maybe intro I chased. I was making projects so interesting, so heavy, so different, because I wanted to make the playground in the business very similar. So I wanted to have like a team. We make a like a we are the team for I don't know construction a hotel or transaction. So it should be intense as a match. It should be a project of a year. But the interesting point was one of my first transaction was selling of a hotel in Bled by a major corporation, and the buyer was Russian. And my idea was, oh, nice transaction, good money, and everything. And I remember it was one of the first time was already back then, like electronic signature of the contract. So my thing was, oh, we go there, we sign the contract, and then we celebrate a little bit. You know, I remember. I got the signature signed contract on the mail, and I got money on transaction. Nobody said nothing, like good job, bravo, whatever, like zero. And I was like, no, maybe it's not the same as playing sports. It's just a business for people. Like, yeah, we did transaction, all good. Life moves on. Yeah. So I was chasing the first years, let's say, of finding the sports mentality thing, but then I figured out it's not the same thing. But yeah, but having those, I would say, in 10 years of my playing in Italy, I was fortunate to have, let's say, a lot of mentors. So all my sponsors are big companies. Normally, those are the ones who are giving money to them. And being the best player of the team, it's the best access you can get to the player. It's the office is always open, so they're proud that you come to the factory to see how. Like we had in Verona, it was Avesani pasta. You know, just come, yeah, we'll. And they tell you everything, all the details, all the problem, all the pain. It's like open book, you know.
You had fast access there to business stuff in a
Yeah,
way,
so
right?
that was my thing, and I always loved the stories. I was always curious in me, even though I never thought, literally, I never thought I'll use those things. So that was an interesting point. So all my sponsors crazy good entrepreneurs. So I started to go to international economy at Padova. So, and it was a case on exam for export things to outside EU. That was an exam about that, and it was oral. And of course, I had like 7 8 entrepreneurs telling me how the process going. So literally, I went to the exam and just copy paste their words. No, from the book. And the professor said like, but that's not in the book. He said like, yeah, most probably I didn't read. Yes, I just went through, so I know the lines and the, let's say, the words how to use. But let's say those are the real deal things which people, for example, like Gabriela was importing a lot from China back then. and he knew all the steps and so on. I just tell them the steps, and he said like, okay, it's not right, but I'll give you 18 out of 30 because like, okay, you'll pass, but not it's not the right path.
When you had to switch from, being a player to essentially running a business, that was a period of sort of difficulty and sort of an identity crisis. But you were carrying some aspects of you as a sportsman into the business. Now, that was, I think, a very privileged position you had, because you had that position in the team, etc., being the best player, which not every entrepreneur would have these days, right? So people will start businesses for different reasons. And, I hear oftentimes that people, when they start the company, they have an impression that it will be amazing, and then they hit so many walls. So, changing the path of our conversation a little bit, what do you think are, important things for someone that wants to start a business, or maybe someone that is struggling? Because I think you have so much stuff to share on this as well.
Let's say different identities you literally have, like and I'm the believer, you're not only like, I'm not only entrepreneur, I'm dad as well, I'm a husband, I'm a friend, and those identities are very different from, I cannot be entrepreneur with my kids. I can teach them entrepreneurial skills, but I could be a pain in the ass being entrepreneur with them, and they don't care I'm a successful or not. They just want to be a present dad. That's
Or play in that
that's
case.
the, and that's the philosophy, which is very similar to the let's say to entrepreneurship, and this what that was one of the biggest reason I started entrepreneurship after the volleyball was lack of simulation of real events in the like being entrepreneur. So I was very good from, let's say, from the even before, like I said, from maybe I was 10 years old, but negotiation was one of my skills, not direct, but just creating added value. So and the interesting thing is when the founders were asking me, "Oh, you have those investors. How should I talk with them?" So and the thing I see it's lacking, it's pure practice. So I will give you an example. It's very hard that you will teach me how to play volleyball with the video call. And that's very similar case to the thing. So when they ask me how do you negotiate with the very tough Russian investor, I said like, yeah, you probably need to sit.
Zoom will not work, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't, like those book doesn't work, and then he will grill you more than you think. And when you think he's finished, he just started. That's normally a case, which is, and I would say that the practice side, just small, like talk with go in the bar and talk and try to sell him something. And those practices, I think it's lacking in all things, in all segments, literally like a practice. And I always tell, like, you don't become an NBA player in 1 year. You need to be if you're in the third league, you need to know where you are. So that was my thing, and I think one of my added value right now is to know your real positioning. No bullshit where you are, but what's your stage of life or business you are. So based on that, you can make a map, economical status, whatever. So it will be easier you to grow. So what I did, and what I'm talking, it's literally I did all mistakes by myself. Long time, it cost me a lot. So one of the interesting things, maybe in the whole region, like here, and I can speak for Friuli, Veneto, Croatia, Slovenia, Austria, this side. Give you an example. So a founder comes to me and say like, "Oh, I would like to raise 1 million." Let's say, okay, which is fine. And what they go to the superstars of the businesses. Maybe you're, like I said, you're third league, mid third league player. Just to put it like that. And then you say like, oh, let me speak with Mourinho, you know. Mourinho, in first 5 seconds, he will read you the whole thing. So I'm not really interested. You're a third league guy, like, and you are asking money. So like, no. So I'll always say like, you go to the first one in the third league, or maybe last one in the second league. You know that he will. So you'll have a better proximity of what it is. So, and even people who are already successful in business, what I see the pattern, they already start forget what it was, how it was, how they. So there's a story which they are telling, but they don't feel it anymore. They don't see the pain. It's not part of them anymore. So it's not real. So the help that they're providing, it's not in the stage. So, and I believe that Mourinho would have very hard time to support third league player. He would be the best for Cristiano Ronaldo and top players, and they're in that league. They have the system, and why I'm telling you that was my case. I always remember it was very hard to play against very bad teams, and I sucked because the system is you don't. There's no system. You don't need. You don't know where it goes, so you're bad. And and in business it's very the same. If you're a corporate guy, which the processors are working at least is smartly, and if you're maybe early startup, you're creating the process, which is totally different two things in their own. And imagine you get a early startup. Now I'm making like huge gap, but just to people to understand, and maybe someone from the corporations, they're very far. They're very far. So yeah, that I would say practice entrepreneurship would be a right word.
Great point, and connecting with people essentially in a sort of similar league at what you do. And so I think for that reason, also, it's so popular networking today in general. And I think that's how we connected, by the way, the networking in Ljubljana, you
Yeah,
remember, when you were running.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that's, in fact, one of the challenges for business owners these days. Apart from the competition, we have too much of everything in general. Is to connect with people which are in circles which are at a sort of similar level as you. How to find those circles, and I see people have connections or work as a connector similar to what you do in different countries, because I see in my network as well. And I think those are important connections. So if I were to start something new today, I will prioritize those type of connections. Try to find something local to you, as I agree completely, in person, and then you can attend on regular basis, or that will help you grow. I know it's easier said than done, because it's not super simple to find the best circle. So do I need to fly to the US, or do I need to go to Korea? Maybe I have to go to Japan. You have so many options. And again, maybe a quick one. What would be a quick advice? Start locally, like within your area. What would you recommend?
I would go with 80-20. So going back to my Italian roots, and when I was in Biella, one of the very famous, maybe you even know Ceruti family. Yeah, very famous, and I remember I was stuck by the things like why Biella? Biella is very industrial city. From Biella, Fila, like company Fila comes, and Angelico, Lauretana Water is there. So a lot Ceruti is there, and I was stuck by the thing how average Giovanni, let's say like that, in his 60, not speaking English, but his company is generating 100 million revenue in 64 countries.
He must do something right, right?
And I'm like, and that's not my word, so don't blame him. That's their word. And they're not even so intelligent, like, and they're not even so much. Let's say, how to say, adaptive, but they have a system. So one of the system I remember was one of the sponsors said like, you know what? For last 30 years, what we do is 20% of our profit we put in new ventures, new, which mean new product, new concept, new way, new service, whatever. Like literally 20% goes for whatever. And I remember he said like, we put those 20% and we go to Fiera in Papua New Guinea. Nobody knows who is there, what is there, how does it look. You just go there and you spend the money. He said like not looking how much, and no, you make a catalog, you go there, you pay a translator, you pay 20,000 to be, I don't know, in whatever, and it doesn't work. And the next day you say, oh, I go to Bogota, and Bogota, the reason why I say is like that. So he goes for 5 years and there is zero revenue, zero leads, literally zero things. But on the 6th year, he go to Bogota. I think it's Bogota, but somewhere in South of America. And he said like, and I found a distributor who said, I'll cover all Spanish-speaking markets for you. Because it's easy. You just bring the thing, I think it was towards Venezuela on the port, and it's everything in Spanish. We have the logistics side. You just tell me the margin. He said like, I'll give you margin, whatever you want. Earn money. I don't like, just make me business. I don't, just make money. And he said, okay, with that margin, I can have like a very nice network. So it was like multi-level network. So I can have second agent, third agent, fourth agent, even 6, 7 agent, still got a very good portion of that. And he was crushing. So with one deal, I think he covered like 8 countries. So it's not like, okay, you figure it out, oh, it's 64 countries at one thing. No, it was one, and one was 8, and the second one was, I think, Canada and US, and the third one, I think, was Egypt and few Arab countries in the south, north of Africa. So, but the point was, every year 20% of the profit goes literally, like I said, startup
Yeah.
mode.
So he was not essentially risking what was working, but it was
He said like, no, zero risk. Like, we know it's Italians are very traditional. Literally, it's Italians, they don't love to risk. Let's say, especially the north industrial part, they're very conservative, let's say, players. But he said 20% works for me very well, and I saw it through the whole line. Maybe not so Friuli, but let's say from Veneto till Piemonte, I would see very similar pattern, and people were quite easy to spend going somewhere they don't know, dress well, spend on the food, spend on the looking good,
very Italian, that bit.
Very Italian, yeah, but at the end of the game, it's, I think, still working, because still the northern part export is still crushing in the world. It's and I see that it's the network of people they used, I think, in the last 50 years. It's amazing, and it's still working. Interesting topic. Very interesting topic. I was part of first mentor from AmCham. It's American Chamber of Commerce here in Slovenia. I was a big part of that, and we have mentorship here. And I remember the first time they said like, oh, if I have 1,000 euros, would you invest in crypto? I don't know, whatever you can. And that was my style was, my first 1,000, I literally spent on dinners on the founders. So that would be my first, let's say, thing to say, like, find a guy who is not in the first league but in your proximity. Ask him, could I buy you a pizza on whatever day you say like, and you will be amazed how some of those people, maybe in the 60s, are already bored, like they're bored. And this is, I figured out in the last 10 years, a lot of investors are investing because they're bored. Not all only the money, it's a money factor, but they want to be alive. Like the mojo started to die, they want to be part of something or whatever. So I would definitely find two or three of those and spend 1,000 on like and pizza. I know with Coca-Cola cost you, I know 30 euros each. I know, just an example. And I would invest if I'm a local guy, a small guy. I would go there, and then I would, let's say from Slovenia, then I would go to Ljubljana, maybe find additional one. Maybe then I would and then I would do this, let's say, a little bit of bridging. So then I would go to the first league guy, ask him, and then to see it more from the practice thing, not from the you really got something, but okay. I go there, I try. Oh, he's still out of my league. Let's find out. So you get the ground, but the first 1,000 definitely dinners with not even dinners because it's hard. People, it's very hard to, like older people, it's very hard to get them for the dinners because it's a wife time, it's a kids time, it's a grandkids time. It's lunch and breakfasts because they don't those who or those are amazing. Pay them breakfast. You've been to my event. This is why we had breakfast. Just come, 20 people come, have a breakfast, have a connection. That's it, and amazing things come out. And even like those small gatherings, they don't cost you such a big amount of money. And I'll say that the best investments would be like that, and that would be my first recommendation.
This is I think is a great topic. And in our time where everything moves digitally, I think the new entrepreneurs have a hard time understanding this. But I've heard again people in my network doing this in different ways. One from my network in the US, this is the one I wanted to share. They do networking on cruise lines. So they organize events for corporates, and they essentially they can rent you a whole ship, like imagine a ferry, big one, and they bring people doing conferences on board. And the first time I spoke to this guy, his name is Joe. I was asking him, so why this in the cruises? He said, well, first of all, you take people out. This is for bigger events.
Yeah.
You go out on a beautiful trip, somewhere Miami, Caribbean, that type of thing. And second, they're on a cruise line, so they're stuck on the boat. So they have to talk about something. And it's great to bring people out of the office and have them talk and do something, and then they can do all sorts of interactive things, in business games or things to bring people together. But that's just one example of where people can do deals and effectively connect with others. Now, I'm not telling to everybody rent a boat, right? But that's the mentality, I think.
But that was a very good point, and imagine I can be proudly say that for the last 20 years I'm a very big networking guy, and I evolved myself as well. So what I did for the first 15 years, maybe I was connecting a lot, and I saw the connection was like perfect. That's what, like, he needs that, he needs that, and then I figured it out that there's one missing point. People, they don't have a framework of how to do partnerships. So a lot of them, they see, oh yeah, you're amazing, your company is amazing, your product is amazing, and they have very hard time how to make a framework of collaborate, like pure structure of the deal. Like, okay, I offer you revenue. No, I cannot give you revenue. I give you 5,000 per month. No, like all those things. So what I see, and that was a huge frustration for me. So I saw huge enthusiasm. People gathered because they trust me, and they, like a lot of people right now, when I connect you, they run there because they know some, like he got the picture, he got the insight that something is there. So a lot of them, they don't ask me anymore. At the beginning, it was like, why did you connect me with that guy? And it was like, yeah. And I was still bad in communicating because I saw the whole thing moving, and I was like talking the whole. I was presenting the whole strategy to them, and I said, like, nobody, literally in the world understands you. What are you talking? And my wife is talking to me all the time. They give a shit. So my thing was, okay, that part of too big or too communicate needs to die, and that part died as me as well. That was my one of my few dies of the different identities, and then I figured out I need to help them, you know. So I need, if you I see Gabriel and I see Luca, you know, and I give them a little bit of rope, okay, it could be affiliated program with maybe half a year testing site. You have 10,000 people or on your newsletter things. Just make a A/B test, send what Gabriel is offering to your 10,000 list, figure it out things. If there's a conversion, you give them 10% of the old conversion to him. So I figured out people need a little bit of strategy. And this is when my strategy started to become, let's say, even more important than only the connection, because I was so frustrated to see people to connect, give a lot of money, effort to the topic. It's like really pure wish that they wanted to collaborate, but they were not able to, because the bridge of how was too big. And this is, I would say, one of my key works right now. It's literally this. First is connection, yes, but once we have a connection, what do we really do? And my friend gave me a very interesting topic when I was. He asked me, "I see all the posts on LinkedIn on what do you really do?" And 1 hour explanation, and I think he was like, but you're really playing volleyball, literally. So you're creating a team of 6, which is, let's say, we call it 6 partners, which are very good for a specific project, for a specific timeline. But you are able to see that if one of those partners slash players is not good for the second one, you change him. You're not playing the same things. So you're able to play. In the league, we had 14 teams to play against. So you need to analyze every team specifically. And they do the same thing. So I analyze every project as a different team, and I create the winning team for that specific team outside. And literally, it's very similar in the business side, which I do now. And I try, I'm still, let's say, learning that part, how to communicate not only on, I was good, let's say, one-on-one or 3 peoples around, and how to communicate when the let's say there are 6 partners, but every partner has still maybe 3 sub assistants, team managers. So you have like a team of 20, and on the other side it's a team of 20. How to make a communication or strategy so 40 people will at least minimum understand what's the thing all about. So that let's say I'm the phase I'm entering right now, is me to understand a little bit bigger picture for both pools and not only 3 people.
Effectively, yeah, when you put people together, then you want to make sure they can do something after, right? And and I know I've been in some networking that effectively, yeah, you do connect with some people, is all excited at the beginnings, but unless you, in that case, you have a clear idea what you want to do next, or someone else will help you with a framework like you described, then nothing happens. It's just exciting at the beginning.
It's a currency for the soul, but not for the revenue. And but I'll add let's say where I got this point. So imagine me after 18 years old, I was already on the salary from the teams in Italy. So in the summary, I was literally I'm on all project. People start, could you help me with recycling of the waste of the car tires, And I say, I'm in. And I was on, like, literally everything you imagine. I was being part of it, from software, from AI, from some recycling, one thing, second thing, particle materials, whatever, like hardware, cars. We converted the DeLorean into the electrical. So whatever, like creating a small house, like a live house with a dawn, like there are a lot of different things on the things. But I'll tell you what I struggled, and what was my case, and what I still see very similar case. So I was maybe 20 years old. I remember I had the Toyota Yaris. I always laugh on that. A small car for a big man, but it was love that car. So I was driving around. I was literally, if you point Ljubljana and if you point 500 kilometers from Ljubljana, I've been on all events. I've been on all ventures, whatever, big, small, Coca-Cola, IBM, startups, Podium, just like H4, like everyone. And I got this pattern things. People are gathering from the same profession. And this was my first strike. I was here in the co-working space in, I think it was in Tobacna back then, like 20 years, something like that. And I remember there was somebody was talking about how you need to have a business plan. That was the whole thing. Like the business plan is the must. Okay. And I figured it out. I remember all my sponsors, like entrepreneurs, like, who gives a about the business? Just go there and think. And that was some, like, in my head was like, no. And there were like 20 people in all very similar age, all very similar, let's say, background, all very similar ideas, everybody at the start. And I remember it struck me, like, literally, puck. And I said, like, and we were talking for months. Oh, we need that, we need that. And it struck me like that. So we are 20 dudes with the same problem, and nobody knows what to do. And then I figured out, no, you don't need to have everybody. Now they call it, let's say, equality or whatever, diversity. You need, yes, but you need diversity, not like white gender or everything, but from the different fields, from the different field. Like, it can be, for me, it can be 10 white males because it's the most topic it is, but they can be 10 different guys because that's the team where I played. In my team, we're the whole team of 12, let's say, male dudes. We are all different. We're not the same. But that was my point. So imagine that you have 20 attackers, but nobody teach you the defense, and nobody teach you the strategy in the midfield. Like, and that struck me. And this is why I started to make, like, vertical and linear collaborations, because I saw you need both worlds, upper a little bit and a little bit deep and a little bit deeper. And if you have people which go, I know, conference of the dentist, they have all different, very similar problem, but you don't have people from the e-commerce which already solve it in the digital, because there are digital people, but they are not really connected in between. And this is where I started to connect the knowledge from the e-commerce, like I was being part, from different part, from whatever, and you see the knowledge is not spreading, because people from one segment say, oh, that's a huge pain, but in other, that's a daily usage of it. And that's the problem of the events. They're calling, oh, it's 10 programmers and they have the same thing. No, you need to a little bit, not too much. You don't disrupt them. You don't disrupt the 20 people, but out of 20 people, I would say that 6 or 7 or 6, 7, like the kids are telling now, they should be a little bit similar cases with some glue inside, but from different things. But you were part of the my event, you know. You saw that there are people are. Tell me what your thoughts on that, like, or how did you saw the 20 people gathering, because that was my part of the experiment as well, to see.
Well, first of all, I enjoyed it. Was yeah, I think it was a breakfast or a lunch. So yeah, I thought the timing was different than usual. So definitely more energy in the morning and good ideas. And I think it was a good event to connect with new people. And there was some initial interest. And the follow up afterwards are tricky, and I did follow up with a couple. I don't think we did any specific deals, but there were some good connections, some initial conversations. So I think the format was good. Not too many people. I think it was a 15 max. So those are the type of events that I know. Even now, I'm in another country. I'm in Czech Republic now. Those are the type of events that I like to attend in person. When I can, and discuss with people, listen. I think it's important to ask a lot of questions. That's in my opinion. Also, when I talk to my new clients or when I have a prospect, I always ask a lot of questions. I'm quiet usually when I need to explore potential opportunity. I'm quiet, and in those events also I think it's important to not only talk about what you do, but also ask a lot of questions to other people.
I made, I think, I don't remember, 12, I think it was 12 events I did. So it was a mixture. It was literally my, how to say, research or curiosity, how the things are working. So from all my events I did like you put it in a provet, how do you put it? I don't know how it's called. The all knowledge I gathered. So for me was, if you meet not once per month, because one per month is a little bit too intense, but it should not be more than 1 month and a half, because then it's you lose the connection of it. And in 1 month time, a lot of things happen. There's a lot of things new. Um, so this was the format. So once every 1 month and a half, not more than 30 people. Half of them are regular, half are not. So it's always somebody new. So it's always new. So you will always 5 to 7 new people you will get to know. But the people who are gathering every 1 month and a half, the ones who are started to work in between, it's working because it's a social experiment. I gather it's interesting. I'm in the mails with them. So 2 weeks before the event, things are starting to move because it's a peer pressure. Oh, you said you will send me the documents. And I see sending the documents like a week before the events is the most intense thing, because he knows he will see him at the event, and the guys will ask you, but yeah, why didn't you ask? So the process are moving. It's not too much. People are always getting to know new people, but even those are existing are impeller. So, and I saw that the questions we were asking was, and people are not very familiar with that. We just ask, what do you need? What do you need today? What do you need this
Yes,
week?
yes. That was so true, because I remember there was something which I super like. That was the thing you said at the beginning. So
Yeah.
can you tell what was again the format to our listeners, please?
Let's say we are 20 people around, in the round table. Nobody, or let's say you have like a BNI, which is a business networking thing. Part of the concept comes from there, but you have like a 30-second presentation of yourself. But the core thing is not who you are, what you do. Like, maybe we don't care, but you come with specific maybe challenge, goal, need, task. So the amazing thing, how many things were solved in 1 hour. It's blow mind. So people come and say like, and I will tell you the first events, people were shocked. people, the first events, we didn't, like, people were like, said, like, what do you really need? Like, tell me, what do you need for business, for personal? Do you need money? Do you need clients? And people were like, what? Nobody asked me that. I don't even know. And nobody knew, you know? The next event, I remember the first one, like, shocked. The next event, people were coming with
The
the
list,
list of things,
laundry list. Yeah.
but for me it was more like, and this is part of my business, because if you don't know what you need, I cannot help you. I'm limited.
Very true.
Once you know what you know, and people start to come with the lists, we need new client in that area. We need to go to Holland, and then based on that knowledge, I invited for the next event people who might be in the proximity of things. So that was the, let's say, that was the logic of things. So I gathered, let's say I was the central piece. I gathered the biggest piece, not me only, but let's say the thing. And for the next event, I tried to give you somebody from the Netherlands, or from the Netherlands event. And then we tried to see where the things are. So that was the whole thing. You be part of one, but on 12 it was asking what people need, specific, and not too broad. Oh, I need investor. No, specific one. I need 500,000 in equity from Slovenia. No knowledge in IT. Be active investor. You come very specific. I need a client who pays me, I know, 10,000 per month. What? You need to be very specific, because people are being, oh, we need clients. And I said, like, oh, tell me one who doesn't need clients. Just like, who is the one? Point me one who doesn't need. So it's not a really accurate questions. So the questioning part of it was like more psychology, questioning point of what do you really want and what do you really want to achieve and so on was let's say a soft like massage for the next thing.
Great suggestion. Also, if anybody watches this and you have an event, try what Artyom just suggested.
Yeah.
Tell people to start with what
Yes.
they need for your own event, wherever it is in the world, and you'll be surprised by the output from the people. Indeed, you've done a lot. You've been through many things. You know a lot of people. What is next? What's next for you, or what are you looking forward to?
What I learned from the life is maybe not to be afraid of unknown, and all that have a very similar story, and which helped me, I think, a lot. So imagine I came from Slovenia, so I finished my school in Slovenia, the elementary school, and I went to high school in Italy. So, and then I went to university in Italy in Italian language. 95% of my education, I didn't have a clue, literally. I was literally in the room, not understanding a word. And I remember in Sandona, we have a professor, and it was the 5th year, and I was doing Liceo Classico, which is quite heavy stuff. And I remember when they started in Italian, it was course, and it was Dante Alighieri Inferno and the whole thing. And it was already, for the Italian, it was hard. For me, it was literally, and I remember the whole thing. Every day I was motivated, like now I'll be more, let's say, focused. I'll be there. After 10 minutes, like I'm gone. And it was like day and day and day and day. And then I love history, I love chemistry, I love biology, I love all those things. But when they started to engage the vocabulary, which was not part of like literally, and I was like in my dictionary, and I was like Slovenian, Italian, English dictionary. It was too much, and the same was in university. I remember I come there and it was like statistica, game over. Microeconomia, game over. Ragioneria, game over. It was for me not because I didn't understand from the intelligence side. It's just too complex. And Italian is a very complex. every people say like, oh, it's Italian is an easy language. It's like, nah, you're from different planet, people.
Explain simple concepts in Italian, you need 120 words. And if you say the same thing in English, it's 20 words.
Yes,
That's
that's the point.
if you translate, I translate a presentation not too long ago for an Italian prospect, and gosh, in English was like 50 slides, it went to 75. I thought, I'm going crazy here, but there's no way I can explain it in small if I write it in Italian, right?
But going back to my, let's say, educational part, which it's very linked to my business side as well. So people, like I said before, people see in LinkedIn I do like, I'm not really what segments are more or where I'm, and people like, how do you like property construction, that what's, and I do the same thing. Like I'm like the same as the university. I go to the meetings, I don't, for maybe half a year I don't understand nothing, all the concepts, all the thing, all the words, like, and I become, let's, how to say, it's not okay to not understand. That was my, but like I said, it's a practice. I for years I didn't understand. Even now I don't have problems. On the call, people are talking. I know now we are a little bit in the mining. Oh, the chemical reaction in the mining facility: green fields, brown fields, yellow fields. I don't what fields you're talking about. But now I'm comfortable to literally not understand. And let's say I saw myself that for the 10 years I was, let's say, more the investment side, more property side. Then I evolved to the company side in investments and strategy. And now I'm doing the same, maybe going a little bit more global right now. So one of our great ventures is putting Gaspar Astral 8 to, which is software company, to US and support the whole venture from here. So like I said, mining all the commodities things. So if I did very well, I would say in the EU realm, now I would like to do it in the same way on the global one. And now I'm in that transition as well to not understand a lot of things, already did a lot of things, practicing it. But yeah, the let's say the global connection was always my let's say my wish, and especially like I said, maybe in EU it's still easier because we are still EU, and I know before that it was, we got from every country we needed visa, so we needed to go to the embassy and phone. So it's very similar, which the globe is right now, and I would like to help entrepreneurs on those global matters, as it was 25 years ago in the Europe already. It was a small market, but it was very different market from all topics.
Well, thank you so much, Artyom, for this view on also what's coming next. And, being practical, because also we like to put useful things here in our recordings. Where can people find you? Where is the best way to get in touch with you? One wants to explore some new entrepreneurs.
I think LinkedIn is still the nice machine where there's not too much, but enough updates of, let's say, current projects we are working. Even if you go in my bio, you see on the project I worked or working. They're not all, but let's say just to have a glimpse of that. I think LinkedIn is still, let's say, from the business connection side, the best engine. Of course, if somebody got my email, I always reply, even if I'm not interested. I'll reply. I think 10 years ago, I had this, like I said, my identity switched. So I became from more investment thing, and I was like, maybe for a period, like say a little bit cocky, now I'm the man, like now you cannot reach me. And then I figured out, like, no, like, why, like, you're so cocky, so so I figured out it's much easier if people ask me, and if I know that I can connect you with somebody, I'll just say forward or reply and add that one. It's like, oh, he's a better connection than me. Like, talk with him, and it doesn't cost me. Like, it's not like, because that was a period I remember. I was like, no, like people need to get me harder to like, no, you'll get normally, or at least people say like, with me, you always get connection. Like I'm not the guy who doesn't do that in case like majority, rare cases, but let's say 99%, most probably you'll get some connection.
One, I also enjoy from time to time to do connections. And then, you don't have to, oh, I'm gonna get something out of it. No, not really. Just do it. If you want, otherwise, don't do it.
I felt much better. Like, okay, I'll give you no, like, not thinking about as
No
well.
agenda, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like agenda. Of course, sometimes you get trapped. You get an agenda as well. Then you got out of that agenda.
Yeah.
Finish. There's a huge, let's say, swing in the head as well. So it's part of the whole thing. But I figure it out still. Better to connect and. Maybe the God one day will do for
Yeah.
the kids.
I ask everybody on the channel, if there's any guest you can recommend we get on next, who would that be?
I think the one of my last projects, which I'm supporting, Gaspar Bizjak, his story as a former professional firefighter and the whole software he made and why he made and what struggle he was having here in Slovenia and what was his move to US and move the whole venture and start succeeding there and move family. Like I think he has a lot of things. Even let's say even having their mind to explain and a very interesting story and I think interesting site as well. Yeah.
Me and Rocky today had a chance to learn a lot of things on entrepreneurship and coming from a sports career to becoming an entrepreneur with Artjom. And we hope you enjoy this. And thank you again for being our guest.
It's always nice to spread the words and people are willing to hear the stories. Is always pleasure, at least for me. It's a very big pleasure. So thank you for the opportunity as well.